It's no secret that superhero cinema is going through a crisis. With boring stories and uncompelling character interpretations, superhero cinema or superhero media is at its lowest point. Even worse, the future doesn't look that good, with Marvel and DC movies not showing anything promising nor a change for the better. But think about it, we're talking about superheroes. It's in their DNA, in their very essence, to avert crisis, to get us and themselves out of the darkest night, to give their all so that the sun can shine again. That's what superheroes do. So what's happening? What is going on with the superhero industry that's even more threatening than Darkseid, Thanos, Apocalypse, or the Anti-Monitor? What's wearing down these nigh-invincible superhumans and weakening them to the point of just being irrelevant? Well, one answer is superhero fatigue. For the last decade, we've had a barrage of films that range from the very good to the tremendously mediocre, from the absolutely gorgeous Logan to the absolutely boring Quantumania. But is it really just a numbers game? I think not. Numbers do factor in, but it's definitely not the sole culprit. I think that it's a matter of perspective, a matter of reframing our very understanding of the superhero genre, to stop thinking that superheroes that just pop up out of nowhere and are handed down the key harmonic of the universe, which just happens to turn them into a muscle-clad human in a colorful leotard, is in and of itself an interesting premise. And you know what? Many years ago, a story challenged the very essence of the superhero. And with a lightning that ignited a wild flame that tore down the old to bring forth the new, with an otherworldly spark that recontextualized and reframed what the superhero could be or do, it actually changed the whole medium. By using the so-called superhero as an ingredient and not as a whole, the genre flourished again. We desperately need that now. So my friends, I'm Absa, and it's time now to talk about that marvelous, about that miraculous story. Like magic, it all begins with a thunderous word and a calm and monotonous real life. Yet, just like after a thunder, silence follows, the word silently disappears and fades away. Mike Moran is asleep and dreaming again. It isn't a good dream. It's a dream of snow and fireballs, a dream of death and numbing vertigo, a dream of flying. Sometime later, in another place, eco-terrorists are preparing their assault on an atomic power station. Reason being that they're going to hijack plutonium isotopes enough to make countless H-bombs and then resell them in the black market. Many people start to feel scared and angry, but an older blonde man is actually having a panic attack that brings him to his knees. The terrorists take him away by dragging him through the floor and throwing him to the nearest room that had a swing door. Seen through the back, the sign read backwards and something clicks in the head of the aching man. A certain word pops out and, when said out loud, even in his deplorable state, a whisper becomes a thunder. Kimura! A lightning comes forth and one of the terrorists is caught in it, with his face burning down and his eardrums bursting deaf. A terrible thunder that destroyed everything in its line of sight, except the blonde. Miraculously, he stands proud and tall. I remember now, says to himself. Obviously, the remaining terrorists point his guns towards the survivor and start threatening him. Yet, like a divine being that is not bound by human laws, the blonde one claps his hands and thunder bursts between them. The terrorists lie on the floor, defeated and unable to move. "It's over now. I'm Miracleman. I'm back!" exclaims the new demigod while flying through space. Fast forward a little bit and that same being is a little bit annoyed. "Liz, you're laughing. What's wrong? I just told you of my vision where I was handed the key harmonic of the universe, and by uttering the key command word, I gained godlike power thanks to my courage and honesty." I'm sorry, Mike, but that's such a stupid story. It's so silly to believe that. Maybe in an earlier, more innocent time, I would believe you. But right now, I'm sorry, Mike, I really am. But that's just so stupid. "Liz, please, I know this does sound stupid, but back then it made perfect sense," exclaims Mike. He continues on by explaining that he had a family, Dickie and Johnny, and they just needed to say his name, Miracleman, in order to become young Miracleman and Kid Miracleman. They were the Miracleman family. And as expected, Liz is absolutely in awe. First, because her husband is really there, 20 years younger and a foot taller. But second, because what she just heard is absolutely ridiculous. "Damn you, Liz! You're laughing at my life!" screams a hurt Miracleman that somehow managed to splinter solid oak in his tantrum. Getting his calm back, Mike Moran realizes that it doesn't matter. Even if all he said sounds like a joke, what happened later most definitely wasn't. On a certain day, while on patrol, the Miracleman family went to check out a flying fortress. That cursed fortress contained none other than an A-bomb. One body got instantly calcinated and the other disappeared. He continues telling her that after that incident, he woke up 2 months later, barely alive, and little by little he managed to piece his life together as Mickey Moran, without any memory whatsoever of Miracleman. Not until today. Elsewhere, someone is finding out that a flying superhuman has appeared near the atomic plant. And with a raging anger that knows no bounds, he screams, "He's back! Back to spoil everything!" Sometime after that event, Mike receives a call from a long-thought-lost friend, Johnny Bates, now known as Mr. Jonathan Bates, the human formerly known as Kid Miracleman. Inside Sunburst Incorporated, a luxurious office and a black-clad gentleman awaits Mike and Liz. "Mike, it's good to see you," speaks the CEO of Sunburst, and Mike can only feel happiness since it's been 18 years since that accident that severed their wings and lives altogether. 18 years since that day when they all flew together for the last time. "I nearly didn't make it. I woke up in the hospital with my memories intact, but without my powers. The magic went away. My friends were dead and I was again an ordinary 16-year-old human kid." As they continue talking, the sky starts to get cloudy and the day is slowly engulfed in darkness. John continues explaining that even though he had no powers, he had a knack for electronics, and slowly, through the course of almost a decade, he now has branches all over the world. He is a busy man, and in fact, he has to leave them for a moment to check on his business. Mike still can't believe that his pal is alive, all grown up and changed, but alive nonetheless. Liz even comments that Johnny has quite the fascinating, sexy and sinister look, and Moran remains pensive. As John returns, he takes Mike to the roof to talk. It's been close to 2 decades since they talked, and even the sun is afraid of what's coming. John, I really wanted to believe it, John. But as you were telling your story, I got this funny idea into my head. What if you're lying? Sure, you could take Johnny's name and his identity, but you could stay as Kid Miracleman forever. You could sever all your links with humanity. I can tell by your voice, by the way you stand. You're not human, John. I can feel it. In a pitch dark sky, Johnny dismisses that idea. You're just being paranoid, he tells his old pal. And Mike just nods and tells him that he's probably right. But John, are you doing something to my mind? Yet John is just standing there with a look of inhuman concentration in his eyes. And out of the blue, Mike pushes Johnny into the dark abyss. But Johnny, the cute little Johnny, doesn't fall down, and the devil is unleashed. He's flying, and all Liz and Mike could see was the smile on the face of the tiger. Mike, he isn't falling. Why isn't he falling? Screams desperately Liz, and the only words that Mike can utter is, "Get out now, Liz." Liz somehow manages to get out of the room, but poor Stephanie gets in the way of the awakened demi-human, and like a god punishing a human for looking him in the eyes, Johnny burns her to the bone. Mike even asks why he needed to do that. "Just to show you that I don't mind doing that sort of thing. In fact, I quite enjoy it," answers the monster CEO, and Mike, with a sad, almost even disappointed face, whispers the thunder word. Kimura. What follows next is the reason why even the sun stood away. Two unnatural beings fighting through the air. But the devil with the red eyes is cackling. "You haven't got it, have you? You were only a superhuman for 9 years. I've been one for the past 25. I can do things you couldn't believe. I can hurt you," screams Johnny while spewing lasers from his eyes that actually burn half of Miracleman's face. Kid Miracleman moves at a lightning-fast speed and throws Mike to the sky. His strength is unnatural, his abilities beyond miraculous, his evil unbound. "No good. He's coming after me. I'm afraid of him," says Miracleman while falling into despair. Scared, Moran? Surely the big strong superhero isn't scared of the little kid he used to push around and patronize. Johnny is now gloating and mocking, all while concentrating his inhuman abilities to charge positive ions. He's summoning a thunderbolt that, instead of bringing magic, is filled with hatred and malice. Miracleman receives the lightning bolt head-on and is left dizzy. This means that Johnny uses this opportunity to strike down his former friend at 3 times the speed of sound. And after the terrible explosion, apparently only one emerges. Only one with eyes as red as blood and an unquenching thirst for massacre. But from behind the monster, a shadow calls him. "Bates, leave the innocents alone," screams Miracleman while punching him to the sky. Yet the Dark One is not at all stopped, and with all his inhuman passion, he strikes back. And Miracleman returns the punch, and with a rage not known to human comprehension, a battle of titans is happening right there, in front of us mere mortals. And after 55 seconds that seem longer than eternity, someone, somewhere is informed of the battle. Oh God, they're back. The monsters of Project Zarathustra are back. Meanwhile, the battle is not over and Miracleman is losing his magic. Punch after punch, kick after kick, Mike is losing his strength and will to fight. And the Dark One is not even breathing hard. "I beat him," screams Johnny. "He thought that he was great and I beat him to a whimpering pulp," he continued manically. "And now I am going to finish him off. Me, his adoring junior protege. Me, Kid Miracleman." Johnny forgot his thunder word. He should not have forgotten the thunder. And Miracleman is relieved. He said, "Miracleman, my name, his magic word, he's changed." And right in the center where the thunder struck, little Johnny Bates is scared to death and asking for forgiveness. No, not me. No, not me. I didn't do it. It was him, not me. I couldn't stop him, Miracleman." And Mike just stands there, perplexed, thinking, "He just said my name and didn't change back. He hasn't assumed his human form for years. It's as if the power buildup behind that thunder flash has burned him out somehow." Liz quickly approaches Mike to see how he was, and just as they are hugging, the kid is right there, almost catatonic. It's right there where Miracleman accepts that he can't do anything right now for his friend, and hugging his wife even harder, he decides to leave the scene before the police decide to ask questions. And as they are leaving, only questions remain. What are the Miraclemen? Who's behind those monsters? What's Project Zarathustra? But that's a story for another time. This story, well, more specifically, this fragment of a story is how the Miracleman saga begins. And let me tell you, it gets crazier from here on. Miracleman, or Marvelman, was one of the first superhero stories that questioned and defied what was expected from a superhero tale. It's one of the first adultish takes on the superhero medium by Alan Moore, one of the pioneers who reframed what a superhero can do and what's their limit. A prototype tale that explored the inhuman consequences of an unrivaled power of someone who becomes superhuman. Such explorations culminated in the much more influential Watchmen, but if you ask me, I prefer Miracleman. Now, here's my questions to you. Did you feel that I was narrating a superhero story? It probably had hints of it, but it was definitely something else, right? And before anyone says something along the lines of "You just want a darker superhero story. Edgier and grim and gritty versions of actual superheroes are not the way you destroy superhero obsession." Yes, but that's not what I want. We already have The Boys, Invincible, and even DC's own Injustice universe. I really want either a story that interestingly reflects on the inherent silly nature of superheroes and explores it to the limit, or, better yet, an interesting story that shows something to aspire to. How, in spite of all odds, working towards something better is much more meaningful. In order for the superhero genre to thrive, we need to come to terms with one main concept. This is how we kill superhero obsession. The superhero is not a genre, it's an ingredient. Let me rephrase that. We have action stories and action stories with superheroes. We have drama and we have dramas with superheroes. The superhero is an ingredient. It's a part of the whole, not the end-all be-all. My friends, this is not me saying it. Grant Morrison and company said that way back in the legendary Morrison Con. You can't fix a bad story with just a superhero. A bad story is a bad story, period. We need to stop obsessing over the superhero in and of itself and start demanding good stories. Studios need to stop obsessing over the superhero genre and start weaving compelling stories. We don't have superhero fatigue, we have boring stories fatigue. Back to Miracleman. The fantastic thing about this story is that it challenges everything we assume from a superhero. Aside from the main character's colorful attire that intentionally evokes a sense of childlike wonder in the vein of Superman, the whole treatment of the story can definitely be called a sci-fi tale, and it works. In fact, I'll dare to say that it's not the deconstruction that makes Miracleman a fantastic story, but the fact that it just happens to be a very tightly knit story that has a beginning and an end with great plot twists that, along the way, it tries to give logical explanation to fantasy elements that had become a trope. But that's just the cherry on top of the cake. It's really just a very good story. Marvel and DC Comics have the latest iterations of the greatest inventions known to men. They have the newest mythological gods that resonate with many cultures. But a god is nothing without its journeys filled with trials and tribulations. Many years ago, a panel from a Batman comic stuck in my mind. It's from Batman the Return, to be exact. It says the following: "Starting today, we fight ideas with better ideas. The idea of crime with the idea of Batman." This led to the creation of Batman Incorporated, but that's beyond the point. What a fantastic thing to say, right? Fight an idea with a better idea. That's what superheroes need the most right now. Better ideas. And what better idea than, tell good stories? Forget about the multiverse, the nostalgia of bygone eras and unnecessary cameos, the multi-movie franchises that only offer terrible CGI at best. Destroy the superhero with a good story. Maybe Miracleman, a story that's so old and obscure and unknown that it might be the best place to start. And from there, little by little, the awe can return with meaningful stories that cement the fact that superheroes, just like Neil Gaiman once said, need not to be relevant, they need to be inspiring. Anyway, did I mention that I like superheroes and I'm a very big fan of Miracleman? I really used to look forward to every superhero movie, especially X-Men. But right now, I don't even watch the trailers. Yeah, it's that bad. The worst part is that it doesn't seem that it will get better. At least we still have some good stories in the comics. Do you believe that we're experiencing a superhero fatigue, or are you like me that you just believe that superheroes are telling very boring stories and that's why they are absolutely relevant right now? What other stories do you think are worth it to revisit again, and maybe in a different medium, like say a TV show or a movie? Anyway, my name is Absa and we can continue the conversation over at Twitter, where you can follow me at Absalonicus, and on Instagram, where I post pictures of my figures, my cats, and sometimes even myself. And till next time, always remember that in fiction lies power, so let's use it to forge a new type of story, our hero's journey.